All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to DFS Army's tournament strategy show where, we talked through last night's slate. We're going to talk through this freaking massive slate. We just kind of, uh I just kind of make sure that we're sharing the knowledge. And then, of course, on the pre-lock show, which is for VIP members only at 5:30 p.m., we'll do like the deep dive where we really break down exactly what we're doing on this slate and how we're using the domination station. So join us, me and my guy TK today. How are you doing, man?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing well, man. It's been a solid Wednesday. I think well, maybe those of you who don't really tune in too much or might not be DFS Army members, I know you, TK, as like the showdown GOAT. Like you're taking down multiple showdown contests. If I have a question about showdowns, I go and look at your notes on the cheat sheet page. Is that your specialty, or where would you say is kind of like your spot when it comes to like the DFS landscape?
I would say, NBA Showdown, and also I love doing like two gamers on NBA.
Yeah.
I love doing that stuff. So
So like
I would
last
say
night.
that's kind of, yeah, exactly, yeah, exactly, kind of that stuff like my lane and stuff like that.
Nice. Okay. Hey, well, speaking of last night, we had a takedown in the mini max, which is one of the hardest contests on DraftKings. My guy Outcast, freaking awesome lineup here. Not gonna lie, a little jealous. I was one player off of this line. I think I hit like 222 or something like that. But I had Gordon instead of KCP. Uh, just looking at this lineup, I think a lot of DFS Army members had a lot of success last night. We had a ton of screenshots in the chat. Chris Paul was a core play for most of us last night. I locked him in all of
Yep.
my lines. KCP was the guy I was a little bit under on. MPJ and Aaron Gordon. B-Dubs and I talked about this price range yesterday on this show, that 5 to 6K range. Fantastic. Prince, I didn't have as much exposure to. I wish I had a little bit more. I think I was around 20% on him. Jokic was a lock. Booker was a leverage play and a core play. And Nurkic, we talked about on this show as well, and he was in plenty of our lines. So good night all around. Was it a good night for you too, TK, or how do you feel about last night's slate?
I just play like a free contest. Right now, I'm just
Okay,
trying to
kept it
build
light.
up my bankroll. Yeah,
Yeah,
but congratulations to that DFS Army member. That's a big hit. That's a great hit.
Agreed. Hey, it looks like my guy Michael Ortiz was able to make some money last night too. So congrats on that. And you're right, man, or Michael, today's going to be a challenge. We have a massive slate, so we can't waste too much time just talking about all the good stuff. But good
Right.
to see everyone in here. Let's dig into this slate. First game,
Okay.
let's start off by talking about this Wizards versus Pacers game. Let's see. Do we have any injury news for it? So for the Wizards, we have Johnny Davis out, Anthony Gills out, Landry Shamit's out. Not really any big names for the Wizards.
Right.
Pacers are looking pretty healthy too. How are you feeling about this first game on the slate, TK?
I think the first game looks nice. It's a 235 total.
Yeah.
I think Poole and Kuzma is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
I like Kuzma more than Poole, but these guys they should be able to do whatever they want this year.
Yeah.
And then looking at Indiana should Turner looks nice on DraftKings. I love him. We already know Washington. All you gotta do is play centers against Washington. Washington never played defense, so
Sure.
I think I'm definitely going to get exposure to this game.
Yeah, I really agree with your read here. I think Miles Turner is in a fantastic spot. Like you said, we made a lot of money last year playing bigs against this team. I think we can go right back to it. It is a little scary, Miles Turner can be a little handsy at times. Gafford can be as well. So I do have some concerns around the foul trouble, but we can get over it. And
Right.
Mr. Five is right. Like I think
Yep.
Tyus Jones in the
Exactly.
starting lineup at only 4,900 is interesting. My
Yep.
biggest concern is always Jordan Poole. It seems like this is his team,
Yep.
and is he willing to get other teammates involved? I like Tyus Jones. I think Kuzma's interesting. I'm worried, could this just be like a Poole explosive game, though? He isn't projecting very well right now, but I do want to dig a little bit deeper there and see if there could be some upside. What do you think? Am I crazy for that?
No, I think you're right on. Because with Jordan Poole, he could score 30 points right? But is the rebounds, assists is going to be there? That's what you worry about with him. And
Yeah.
I almost forgot to talk about Tyrese Halliburton. Like, he's 9,100 on DK. I think that's a good. He looks nice because if you don't want to spin up for people like Kyrie or Gilgeous Alexander, LaMelo Ball, you can go to him. He always produces. So
agreed. Looks like Madness has a little bit of a grudge against Wiggins for last night. It's okay.
yeah.
It's okay, man. That was painful.
I was on him too. He was bad yesterday.
He was not good. Yeah, and I think that's a pretty good read. It looks like there's some guys like Gallinari and Nesmith like projecting pretty well. Do you have any interest in them today?
Not really, but I do think Obi Toppin could be interesting if he starts at 3,000 dead minimum on DraftKings. So that's something to look out for later in the day if he starts.
Yeah, I think Obi's looking like he might be like the super chalk on this slate. I think I think everyone and their mom's going to end up playing him, assuming he's in the starting lineup, which I think he will be. So, like I mentioned, foul trouble between Obi, Gafford, and Miles Turner is a little scary and a little bit nerve-wracking, but I think we're all going to be eating it today on this slate. So, it doesn't shock me at all. Moving on, we like this game. We're going to have a lot of exposure to it for those of you who need a recap. This Atlanta Hawks against the Hornets game is a little weird for me, but I'll let you start off, TK. Like, what are your thoughts around it?
Yeah, with Atlanta, I wasn't getting really anything from Atlanta, and then going for the Hornets, I just kind of like, my favorite person who stands out is Brandon Miller.
Yeah,
at 5,400, third overall pick. I mean, if he's worth anything, just if he comes out there and gets you maybe 30 fantasy points, that's something I think you'll be okay with.
Yeah. And I think that's a good read too. It's one of those situations where with Miller, he's priced appropriately at 5,400 for a guy we really don't know what his role is going to entail, but there's some upside there. There's a little bit of meat on the bone still that we can try to attack with. Outside of that, everyone looks like they're priced appropriately on this team. There's not really any major changes or shakeups. We're questioning a lot around how these two teams are going to look. I think we know. We saw a lot of it last year. So there's just not really anyone that's super exciting. It's weird. Both of these are teams that we typically like to play bigs against, but I don't like either of their bigs. So I'm just kind of like, probably not going to get a lot of exposure to this team today, or these two teams today. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I'm definitely not going to force anything.
Yeah, not going to force anything. We'll see if things change by the time we get to the pre-lock show, but for now, solid pass for me. Next up, we have the Rockets against the Magic. Now, the Rockets are a team that they've had some changes over the last few months, but from an injury news standpoint, we have Terry Eason out. We have Oladipo out for the Rockets. The Magic are pretty healthy. Gary Harris is in. Kevion Harris is out. What are you doing with this game today, man?
I think this game could be. It might be a few pieces on this team that could be sneaky in GPPs. Yeah. Because if you just look at Paolo Banchero, he's not going to grade out as someone who's going to be highly owned. And I would take some shots on him. Year 2, he's going to be more of a leader on the team. We all know Houston defense is bad, right? I think he's somebody I would rather be overweight on him than to be under. And also, I think Markelle Fultz is interesting. I like him on DraftKings and FanDuel. And I think this Magic team may look a bit interesting.
Yeah, it's weird. Last year I was very anti the Magic because they screwed us over after slate after slate. But they're facing the Rockets. This is a pretty soft matchup. These prices aren't crazy. Paolo at 8,900 is a little pricey, but I agree. Like, there is some ceiling there. I want to dig a little bit deeper into it before I kind of have like a firm thought process behind it, but I think we can pick on both sides of this game. Fred VanVleet, he's new to this team. He's coming over from Toronto. I think the $8,200 price tag is probably appropriate. I have a little bit of interest in guys like Shungen and Green. I think there could be some upside there in that $6,700, $6,200 price range. But what do you think about that?
I definitely like Jalen Green.
Yeah,
and I almost forgot about Jabari Smith because he should be taking a step further this year because I was watching him in not the preseason, but I think the summer league, he looked great. And I know it's just summer league, but I mean, year 2 this year, his stock should rise in DFS. And I'd rather jump on him early than jump on him late.
Yeah, and I think that's a great call. Like Jabari Smith in the starting lineup. There's a few of these spots where I think some people are just really going to overlook it. And I agree with your take. Like I like these Rockets a lot today, which sounds insane, but this is another game I plan on having decent exposure to. When it comes to some of these cheap bench players, does anyone stand out for you down here? I don't think we really have to get too cute on this slate with plays like this, but curious.
No, nothing stood out for those guys for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way I'm thinking about this slate is that we have value in with really cheap starters. Like we have guys who are pretty locked into their minutes, who are in the 3 to 4K range. Those are the value shots I'm trying to take, not some of these guys that we really just don't know the role that they're going to be playing on the team this year. So I'm trying to take the guys that we know what they're doing, long story short. Next up, we have another interesting game with the Celtics against the Knicks. Celtics looking like kind of a completely new team in a way, outside of like a few of their core pieces that they've had for a while against this Knicks team. Let's see, is there any injury news here? I hate to have to ask that question with the first game of the season. I talk about it all the time,
NBA.
but it frustrates the hell out of me. It's the first game. Everyone should be okay. But, you know, can't always have nice things. Okay, Celtics are looking healthy. No injury news. Knicks are also looking healthy, so no injury news. What are your thoughts on these teams?
Well, first off, I saw earlier that Horford is not starting, so
yeah.
I'm not on him at all. And then earlier on the Dome Station, I was getting a lot of Porzingis on both sides, and I was getting Jaylen Brown on FanDuel and some Randall. But I don't know. I'm not gonna really force anything. It's a 225 total, and we know that the Knicks play good defense, and with Boston, we just Porzingis is definitely a secondary piece. So, like, what would you need for him? What would you need him to get to be in the winning lineup in GPP? So, I don't know. It's interesting. I still got a lot to break down for them.
I mean, it's a bit of a revenge narrative here for Porzingis. So I know, not really moving the numbers or the projection or things of that sort, but it does make me feel like maybe at 7,200, maybe he could have that 50, 55 point upside if he can actually come in and have a presence and get the rebounds and be a part of the scoring. There's a way it could happen, but I think my excitement for the narrative and for this being a new team might be overpowering the logic of the Knicks being a good defense and that this isn't really a team that we should want to pick a lot on. Porzingis and Drew Holiday, though, are guys that I'm likely to be over the field on, though, on this slate, to be honest.
Yeah, I definitely can see that. And I think when it comes to the Celtics, I think certain players, you probably make a rule like, okay, no Tatum and maybe, maybe Brown or Porzingis in the same lineup. Just being that it's a big slate, like what are the odds that 2 or 3 of these guys are going to be in the same lineup today? So just gotta keep looking at things throughout the day. But I definitely like Holiday. I definitely like Porzingis the most on this game.
Yeah, agreed. And we had a good question. Dixon is asking, generally speaking, on average, which type of lineup lands in first place more often in NBA GPPs? Is it stars and scrubs? Is it balanced mid-range approach? What are your thought processes on this? I can take it, but I'll let you start off, TK. It looks like you already have an answer for it.
Yeah, I would probably say balance, just because when it comes to stars and scrubs, it's just about throughout the day when news hit. Like if the news hit and say, for example, Paul George is out and Kawhi Leonard is out, and then we go to guys like Terrence Mann, who's still priced 3,300, or who else? I forgot the other guy. What was that? Norman Powell. Like he's 4,500. So in days like that, I think stars and scrubs do work. But in a normal big slate day like this, I will go balanced.
Yeah. I agree. I think today is a balanced approach, But Dixon, and you're spot on. You're saying, is it totally dependent
Yeah,
on injuries? It basically
for the
is, yes.
most
When
part,
we have
yeah.
a lot of injuries where you can play multiple studs and they might not even have to exceed value to still hit the nuts line, that's when the stars and scrub approach works more often, is when we have a lot of injuries on the slate and we have value that will exceed their, value cost. But most of the time, a balanced approach, maybe one stud and then more guys in like the mid range is the right way to go about it. But yeah, every slate's
Yeah.
different. There's not one rule for everything. Uh, people are saying that Obi Toppin's a trap. I hear you. I hear you.
Could be.
Obi has hurt people before. He definitely has. So
It's
use
one of
some
those.
caution, but he's in a fantastic spot. And assuming he sees
Yeah.
normal starter minutes, it's a good spot for him.
Yeah.
And Austin, I'm right there with you. I'm getting a lot of Giroux as well. So I think we're like, I'll be playing a lot of Porzingis and a lot of Giroux. It sounds like you'll be going the opposite way on that, which is totally fine. Anyone else stand out for you on this in this game?
Nobody else. No.
Yeah. And honestly, Tatum and Brown, I kind of want to just, unless something pops while I'm doing more research later today, I think I kind of want to take a wait and see approach to see how involved Tatum is at this price tag. It's a little hard for me to get there on this slate.
Yeah, I
Are you getting
agree.
a lot of Tatum
No,
currently?
I didn't get much at all, but
Yeah.
I mean Tatum could come out and get you 60, but
Yeah.
it depends on the field. If he's like 10% owned, I'd rather get 30% than to play than to fade him. I'll probably go 30 if he's 10% because he's still Tatum, and if he gets you 60, hey. But it all depends though.
Yeah. Mega's asking if I uncheck all point guards or shooting guards projected under 25 minutes. I don't. No, I don't. I kind of understand why you would do that, but personally, I don't really uncheck very often at all. What about you, TK? Do you uncheck people?
No,
Yeah, me
not
either.
really. No. In a
All
big
right, next
slate,
up we
no.
have the Raptors against the Timberwolves. Let's see. From the Timberwolves standpoint, Jaden McDaniels is out. Jalen Clark is out. Then for the Raptors, we have Christian Coloco out. Nothing too crazy here. What are your thoughts on this game?
Nothing stood out for me during the batches for me. Like only person who kind of stood out and I got some of was Patel because he's a good fantasy points per minute player.
Of
And
who? Sorry.
Patel, Jacob Patel.
Yeah. Patel.
Yeah, he's like the only one who stood out for me. And yeah, that was it.
Yeah. Uh, kind of like you. This game just doesn't look super interesting. It's two decent-ish teams just kind of going off against each other. The Raptors, they're a team I am on more often than not. I usually play these guys more than other people. But nothing's really standing out for me in this game too much. That could change later, but it's a big slate, so I think it's safe to move on.
Yeah.
Next up, we have the Cavs against the Nets. Let's see. With the Cavs, we have Darius Garland listed as questionable. That's a pretty big deal. Dean Wade's listed as doubtful. Jared Allen is out, also already a big deal. Ricky Rubio looking like he's not going to play as well. And then for the Nets, we have Whitehead out. How are you treating this game? Any interest in anyone here?
Yeah, I love Mobley. I
Yep.
think Mobley looks good here with Jared Allen out.
Yep.
I like Claxton as well because with he's a monster fantasy points per minute, and with Jared Allen now, that's just going to help him. And we definitely have to keep an eye out on Garland, but I'll say Mobley and Claxton stands out the most for me.
Yeah, we're on the same page here. I think Mobley's in a fantastic spot. I always like playing Mobley when Allen is out, and here we are again, about to do it all over again. Claxton, I have a bias against for some reason. I just don't love playing him. But with Jared Allen out, the matchup is slightly softer, so I think that play definitely does make sense. I'm keeping a really close eye on Darius Garland to kind of see what happens there. If he's out, that's a huge boost to Donovan Mitchell on this slate and would make some of these weird guards on the Cavs viable. We're not even gonna go there, but it could really make the slate gross. What about Damian Jones? Do you have any interest in him?
Damian Jones? Not really. I'm not really getting him.
Yeah. For me, if he starts, I could have some interest there. Just maybe even as like a pivot off of Obi Toppin. But it's just a situation where you got to pay attention to the starting lineup. That's NBA DFS in a nutshell. Looks like some people have okay, cool. So moving on, I think it's safe to move on. Do we miss anyone you want to talk about?
No.
Okay. Next up, we have the Pistons against the Heat. For the Pistons, we have Bogdanović out, Morris is out, Livers is out. For the Heat, pretty healthy here. Josh Richardson is out, and then Highsmith is out. Who stands out for you in this game?
I didn't really get anybody here, but on FanDuel, I like Cade Cunningham. He's priced down over there pretty nice. And then just with the Pistons bigs when it comes to Stewart, Durant, Bagley, and Wiseman, it's just like one of those guys could have a big game, but it's just hard to choose which one is going to have a big game, though.
Hey, I just want to say thank you for talking about FanDuel. We don't give FanDuel enough love here at DFS Army, but I'm glad you're kind of like shining a good light on it, which is awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think there are. I have slight interest in the guards for the Heat just because it's a position that I feel like they're just gonna have to run these guys out there a lot. So like Lowry and Hero, probably not on this slate. I'm not getting there, but I do think they're going to perform better than a lot of people think they will this season. But just in regards to this slate, this game doesn't really interest me much. So I think it's safe to move on.
Yeah.
It's also the spread, low game total. There's a lot of things not going well for that game. Next up, we have the Pelicans against the Grizzlies. Let's see. From an injury news standpoint, the Pelicans are missing Jose Alvarado, which does impact this team, at least from a defensive standpoint. Trey Murphy is out. Najee Marshall's out. Liam Robinson's out. And then on the Grizzlies side of things, we have Santi Aldama out. And then, of course, Morant's out with Clark. And then Steven Adams is out for the entire rest of the season. So there's some injuries that impacts this game here. How are you feeling about this team?
Yeah, I like Brandon Ingram. I like CJ McCollum. I think those guys could be a nice GPP play. And I love Jaren Jackson, even though I know he's foul trouble just with all those with Steven Adams out, with Morant out. I just think Jackson and Bane will have to pick up the slack. And I just think Jaren Jackson can definitely blow this slate wide open with a huge game.
I feel like I'm nervous, and I'm going to speak this out there just so hopefully it doesn't happen. But it feels weird playing all of these in like foul trouble guys this early in the season. I feel like I'm asking for like that kick in the nuts. It's like, hey, welcome back to the NBA, Josiah. Like, welcome back. But hopefully, since we talked about it, it's not going to happen now. But yeah, you're right, man. And JJJ is in a fantastic spot. Like, if this is his spot to shine, like if he's going to have big games, there's none better than the next few weeks for him here. The matchup against the Pelicans is tough. It's a tough one. Not a team I like to pick on too often, but at 6,600, he's just too cheap for the role he should have on this team. So I'm going to be very, very heavy on him. I think Ingram at 7,700 is interesting. I don't know how excited I am about it, though, just because I want to see how the Pelicans operate with usage here. Zion being 9,700 is ridiculous.
Yeah.
He hasn't shown any reason for why he should be that expensive, but I think part of the reason for why he is because we're expecting him to take a leap this season, and it looks like DraftKings is already kind of preparing for that leap. For me, he's priced for where he should be if he really does dominate this offense, but he's not priced for where he has been. So
kind of hard he's definitely more of a secondary stud for me, and I wasn't really getting to Zion.
Yeah, not getting there. And people keep asking who's here. This is TK Moss. He's a coach here at DFS Army. If you look at the showdown notes, he's been doing it for ages. He's a GOAT, man. He's really good at what he does. So I am glad you're taking the time to spend with me today to talk through this slate, man. Let's see. Anyone else do you think we're overlooking here? I don't think so.
I think Marcus Smart he looks like a kind of okay mid-range play.
Yeah.
That's somebody if I get about 20% of him, I wouldn't be mad at all.
Yeah. Marcus Smart, Desmond Bane, I think those are two viable high upside positions. Like we talked about with John Morant out, someone's going to have to step up for this team. Everyone's assuming it's JJJ, but there's a chance that it could be Marcus Smart or Desmond Bane. So I'm comfortable taking some shots there too. I think that's a good call. All right, moving on. We have OKC against the Chicago Bulls. Let's see. The Thunder, they're missing Kenrich Williams tonight. And of course, Jalen Williams has been out for a while. And then for the Bulls, Lonzo Ball is going to be out for the whole season. How are you feeling about this game?
I think this game looks great with a 227.5 game total. I love DeRozan, Vucevic, and Levine, but I know since those guys are cheap on DraftKings, they will be chalky. They will be very chalky.
Yeah.
And I think Holmgren looks nice. I wonder how many minutes he will get, but he's somebody who could be sneaky because I know a lot of people some people may have the same prerequisites that I have about him. Just like, okay, he's coming back from injury. He didn't play the whole last year. How many minutes he'll get? But I think he's somebody who could be sneaky.
Yeah. I mean, Shet, it's tough with him. It's really going to come down to minutes. To me, minutes are everything. And on a slate like this, I just feel like we don't have to take that risk. But like you, I'm keeping a close eye. As I'm watching games, as we continue to go through the season, it looks like he's starting to get a tick up and they have trust in him to play like 20, 30 minutes. We're going to want to be on that early. So yeah, depending on ownership, I don't think that's a crazy call because if he does see like 20 to 30 minutes, I don't think that's a bad read at all. But I'm going to be chalky here. I'm going to play DeRozan, Vucevic, Levine. We've been picking on this OKC team for years. They are improving, but they're just too cheap. They're too cheap on this slate, and I'll be playing all of them.
Right, and definitely keep attacking OKC. We know they're not a good defensive team. They're young, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Not much else to add. Play the Bulls. Is there anyone we're overlooking? So no, I don't think so. Do you have any interest in SGA today?
Not really.
Yeah.
I mean, he's about 10.5. He's close to Luka. Luka's like 11,000. Yeah. And I don't know if you want to play both of them on this slate, but I just rather pay up to Luka.
Yeah. Dixon, JJJ is Jaren Jackson Jr. He's on the Grizzlies. Sorry for not saying that earlier. I saw a good. Okay, John said starting all of my lineups of Luka and Wemby. Thoughts? Do you have an opinion on that?
Yeah, I would say go ahead if you feel Luka. We all know he got that crazy upside in Wembley. I think Wembley's what 8,500.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if he gets like 3 blocks, 2 steals, 20 points. So I mean, I like that stand. If you're playing like 20 lineups, hey, why not go 100% on them and then just because you got to get leverage on the field somehow. So I would be okay with that.
Yeah, we'll get there. I'm sorry, I skipped the game. I skipped the game, but I saw the question. I didn't want to forget it. Next up, we have the Kings against the Jazz. For the Kings, we have Chris Duarte listed as questionable. Trey Lyles is out. The Jazz, they're looking pretty healthy. Anyone stand out for you in this game?
I like Walker Kessler. Like I said, with the Kings get center to attack the Kings, and Walker Kessler. We all know he was a great fantasy points per minute player from last year, and I think he's a good mid-range player.
Yeah, like we've been talking about it, but this mid-range, just like yesterday, I was talking about it in the NBA staff channel, but DraftKings in particular is so kind to us at the start of these seasons. They make pricing so soft. Last year, they made rookies really cheap. This year, they're just being soft kind of around a lot of these mid-range guys. Some guys are really expensive, like we talked about Zion, Sabonis, but this Clarkson, Kessler range, like they are in fantastic spots against this Kings team.
Yep.
A pain or a thorn in the side for most of us this year is going to be trying to decide what to do with like Sabonis and Fox. To me, at 10,300, Sabonis is just too expensive. But I don't know. What do you think? Am I wild there?
Yeah, I agree. I think he is too expensive on this slate.
Yeah.
Which is he's somebody I wasn't really getting to,
Yeah.
especially with the center, right? I might as well just pay down for guys like Porzingis or Vujic, like opportunity cost. I'll get somebody who's cheaper who can do just as much as he can.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Tenfold. Kelly O looks like he's popping a little bit. I wasn't really on him. Are you at all?
No, I wasn't really on him either. He's more of a secondary play.
Yeah.
And whatever I get from him, I'll probably be okay with it.
Yeah, I agreed. Just not my favorite spot. All right. Next up, now we have the game that everyone's talking about. For the Mavericks, huge news here. Doncic, he's been battling that calf strain for a little bit now. He's listed as questionable. So a lot of people like Doncic tonight, but he is questionable. So keep an eye on that. Jaden Hardy's questionable. Dwight Powell's questionable. That doesn't matter as much. Spurs, Zach Collins is questionable. Devontae Graham is out. How do you feel about this game, man?
I love it. I love Wembley, and I know he's gonna be very chalky, but I love the guy. I'd rather be over the field on him, and then Luka if he plays. If he plays, I don't think he's not gonna have any restrictions. Being it's game one, they don't have to rush about anything. So if he plays, I'm gonna be all over him and Wembley. And with Kyrie Irving, I'm not too much into Kyrie because it's just with 10-2 on a big slate like this. I rather play Luka over him.
Yeah, I get it. If Doncic doesn't play, I'm cool with playing Irving, but outside of that, not super excited about it. Victor, I need to see ownership. I need to see his ownership. I, like everyone else, want to play him. And also, we've been playing bigs against this Mavs team for a while now, and I think we still can. I don't think that's a thing we can no longer do. But for me, ownership is almost everything, and I know it's inflated because everyone wants to play the new stud. And so if he's in a realm of solid, decent ownership, I'm fine playing him tonight. Might even be a little bit over the field. But if he's super chalk, I'm gonna take a shot at the fade. So just keeping a close eye on ownership.
And also, if he is overly owned and you do fade him, I think Zach Collins he may be the one to benefit and have that big game if Wembley don't go out there and be big. So I think get pivoting to Zach Collins is nice.
Yeah, I think that's a hell of a call. So yeah, we gotta see because he's questionable too. So gotta watch. But hopefully we'll get this news pretty early so we can make some solid decisions. And per usual, we'll talk about it on the pre-lock show where B-Dubs will be joining me again this afternoon. So look forward to seeing everyone for that too at 5:30. All right, man. Last game on the slate, we have the Trailblazers against the Clippers. The Clippers, we have Bones Highland listed as questionable. Terrence Mann is out. Boston is out. And then for the Trailblazers, Ish Wainwright is out. So pretty healthy for the most part here. How are you feeling about this game?
Yeah, I wasn't too fond of anybody on here. I think Scott Henderson may be somebody I want to take a shot at. The number 2 overall pick. I mean, I would definitely take a shot at him. And I don't know. I think Westbrook may be okay too, but I definitely wasn't getting to George or Leonard here.
Yeah, like George and Leonard. I love Paul George when Leonard is out, and I love Leonard when Paul George is out. When they both play, especially on a large slate, usually okay to fade. This Trailblazer team, they're not great from a defensive standpoint typically, but they also dealt with a lot of injuries last year, so I'm not going to take that too seriously. Also, they have a few new pieces. DeAndre Ayton on this team at 6,400 is looking viable. I hate playing Ayton. Do you have any interest in Ayton today, or am I crazy for that?
I wasn't getting to Aiden,
Mm-hmm.
and I wonder how many minutes he'll play.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because they do have a few options now on Portland, so I think that's a good call. It's probably more of a wait and see. Like, let's kind of see what those minutes look like and see what the rotation looks like on this team before we kind of put some of these guys into buckets. But I think Westbrook was a solid call. Anyone else standing out here? Honestly, no. I like the game before a lot more than this game. Anyone else? I know with Bones potentially missing and Man being out, it does look like Batum or Covington will probably move into the starting lineup. If that happens, do you have any interest in them? And also, people have been talking about KJ Martin a lot. I think he could potentially fit into that slot too.
Yeah, KJ Martin, yeah, he did stand out on the optimizer. Yeah. So I mean, if he comes out there and starts, I'll say I'll probably let it ride on the optimizer. But I definitely don't have any interest in Covington.
Yeah.
If he starts, even if he starts, I no interest at all.
Yeah, we've seen that play out enough times where we know we don't need to do that. All right, unless it's a small slate, then we can do it. So yeah, I think KJ, if he starts. If he doesn't start, I'm not as excited about it. So again, just other things to keep an eye out for. But all right, man, TK, thank you for sticking it out with me, talking through this massive slate. Any last nuggets, like things you want to leave the people with?
Yeah, I'll say my synopsis would be just to just look at the news. Just wait to see who's starting and who's not starting. I would say look at ownership. It's okay to be different, especially on this is game one for all these teams. So I'll say don't be afraid to be different and don't be afraid to take a stand. Like if you want to go, you love Luka, you love Wembley, you want to kind of get that game stack, go ahead and lock them in if you're doing something like a 20 max and you want to be different. I'll definitely just say that.
Yeah, agreed. And I think people are saying it in the chat too. This is the first game of the season for all of these teams.
Right.
Realize that we're still trying to figure out minutes. We're still figuring out rotation. Once we have a better sample, we kind of know where to attack. So some of these are educated guesses on some of these guys who are new to these teams. The second thing is watch the pre-lock show, man. Yesterday, we were spot on with being over on Booker, locking in Jokic, locking in Paul. The pre-lock show is only for VIP members, so feel free to join. Click the link in the description. TK, do you have a promo code you want to give people like a 10% discount with?
No, I don't have a promo code. I think I think the Army has one, but I don't have one specifically though.
Yeah, well, you can use mine if you want to. There's also other promo codes out there, but mine's Bob, just BOB for 10% discount. But that pre-lock show, we'll put it in the Discord. We'll have it on the website, and we'll kind of show how we're using the DS and what we're doing on today's slate. So thank you for sticking out with us today. Look forward to seeing y'all later today on the pre-lock show. Peace out. Bye.
All right.